Welcome to the Classic Soap Operas podcast.
Great to be diving into another iconic character today.
Absolutely. Today, we're really getting into it with a character who has captured the hearts of Days of Our Lives viewers for, well, decades now. We're talking about the one, the only, Beau Brady.
Ah, Beau. Yeah, he's more than just, a character on a soap. He's really become an icon, hasn't he? Woven right into the history of Salem.
He brought such a specific energy right from the start.
Definitely. A kind of rebellious, raw energy that the show really hadn't seen quite like that before.
And we're not just looking at Beau's journey, which is epic, let's be honest, but also the actor who brought him to life for almost all of that time, Peter Reckell.
Oh, yeah, Peter Reckell.
Yeah.
It's impossible to separate the two, really, because connection to Beau is just, it's fundamental. For so many fans, he is Beau Brady.
So understanding his perspective, his experiences playing Beau, especially through all the crazy twists and these incredibly emotional recent storylines, it adds so much depth.
It really does. It gives you the full picture.
So that's our mission today. We're going deep. We want to explore what makes Beau Brady such a lasting, memorable figure in daytime TV history, and what it's been like for Peter Reckell to live with this character, especially coming back for these recent, very intense scenes.
Right. Consider this your essential guide to the Beau Brady legacy and the man behind that leather jacket.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Beau Brady arrives in Salem May 3, 1983, and he wasn't exactly rolling up in a limo, was he?
No, definitely not. He was created by Margaret Dupriest and Sherry Anderson, and they clearly wanted to shake things up.
He was this rebel, very blue-collar figure, leather jacket, motorcycle, kind of had that chip on his shoulder.
A real contrast to the, more established, maybe more polished folks in Salem at the time. He wasn't afraid to bend the rules or break them.
And the writers, smartly, didn't waste any time. They put him right in the path of Hope Williams.
Hope, coming from the more upper-class Horton family background. And that dynamic, the rebel and the, well, not exactly debutante, but the richer, more proper girl.
It was instant chemistry, pure soap opera gold.
Absolutely. And it just exploded. Beau and Hope, or Bope as the fans quickly call them, they became one of the show's very first super couples. Yeah. And maybe the most defining one for days.
Their popularity was just massive right from the get-go.
Off the charts. They really set the standard.
And just for the record, Beau's official character birthday is November 5th, 1963.
Now, initially, his family setup seemed pretty straightforward. He was the youngest kid of Caroline and Sean Brady.
The heart of Salem, really. The Bradys represented that warmth, family, community feeling.
And that grounding was important for Beau, even with his rebellious side. It gave him roots.
But then, 1985, the big one. The classic soup twist.
Oh, yeah. The revelation that Sean Brady wasn't his biological father after all? It was Victor Kiriakis.
Talk about flipping a character's world upside down.
Exactly. Suddenly he's connected to this incredibly powerful, wealthy, often ruthless family. The Kiriakises operated on a very different code than the Bradys.
Imagine that internal conflict. Am I a Brady? Am I a Kiriakis? Who am I?
And it set up this amazing, decades-long, complex relationship with Victor. Sometimes allies, often antagonists. Always fascinating to watch.
But despite that tough start, the rebel attitude, the complicated family drama, Beau found a way to use his protective instincts. He became a cop.
Yeah, a detective at the Salem PD.
Yeah.
It kind of fit, didn't it? He still had that edge, that outsider view, but he channeled it into protecting the town.
Kept him right in the thick of the action, solving crimes, dealing with Salem's villains. It worked for the character.
Definitely. He could be the hero, but still be Beau.
Now, you can't talk about Beau without talking about Peter Reckell. He originated the role, played him for most of his existence. They're inseparable.
Completely. And Peter's own background is pretty interesting when you think about the character he played. He wasn't a Hollywood kid, born in Elkhart, Indiana.
Right, but grew up mostly in Okemos, Michigan, near Lansing.
And from a big family, second oldest of 6 kids, 2 brothers, 3 sisters.
Growing up in a big household like that probably gives you some insight into those messy, complicated family dynamics you see on soaps.
I bet. And his interest in performing started pretty early. He actually worked backstage in school theater before he even stepped on stage.
That's cool, knowing how it all works from the ground up.
And he took it seriously, got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater from the Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, a really prestigious program.
With a minor in music and dance, too, so really versatile.
And get this, he paid his way through college by working as a singing waiter.
Seriously, that's almost too perfect for a future soap star known for his charisma.
Right. Graduated back in '77, and his training didn't stop there. He studied with Sanford Meisner.
The legendary acting coach.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, Meisner's technique is all about emotional truth, impulse, things that are crucial for making those daily soap scenes feel real, even when the situations are, completely over the top.
And that musical talent wasn't just for waiting tables or college. He actually released an album.
Yep, a self-titled album in 2003. Produced by his wife, Kelly Moneymaker, who's a singer herself.
It shows he's got this whole other creative side, and his life outside the show seems pretty grounded, too. Lives in Alaska now, right?
Yeah, quite a change from California.
Mm-hmm.
Known for being into environmentalism, loves cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he used to bike to the studio sometimes.
That's dedication. He's married to Kelly. They have a daughter. Seems like a solid family guy behind the adventurous character.
It's always interesting to see that contrast. And before Days became his defining role, he did other TV work.
Like, As the World Turns.
Yeah. He played Eric Hollister on ATWT. Mm-hmm. And he was on Knots Landing, too, as Johnny Rourke. So he had some experience under his belt before landing Bo Brady.
Which clearly set him up for a very long run.
Okay, we absolutely have to spend some time on Bo and Hope Williams Brady.
The definition of a super couple. I mean, truly.
They aren't just a super couple on Days, they are the signature super couple.
Yeah.
Up there with, Luke and Laura from General Hospital in terms of daytime history.
And we mentioned that dynamic, the rebel guy, Bo, falling for the richer, more refined Hope. He even had that nickname for her.
Fancy Face.
Yeah.
Perfect, wasn't it? No teasing, totally affectionate. It just summed up how he saw her beautiful, maybe a bit privileged, but with this fire underneath that he loved.
And the fans ate it up. Their early storylines are legendary.
Oh, totally. Like Bo crashing Hope's wedding to Larry Welch.
Yeah.
On his motorcycle.
Riding right into the church, just grabs her and takes off. Incredible soap moment.
But then the drama continues. Larry's goons kidnap her back.
Right. And force her to marry him. But Hope was smart, resourceful, faking a pregnancy to keep him away. Classic Hope.
And even when they were kept apart, they found ways. That first time they made love, secretly, at O'Galley Plantation in New Orleans. So romantic, so iconic for them.
A really pivotal moment. And after all that drama, they finally got their big wedding, the English wedding.
Yeah, it was huge, elaborate, tied into this whole storyline where they caught a killer called the Dragon. It felt like this epic payoff, very grand.
But they weren't all high drama. Remember the birth of Sean Douglas?
Huh, yes. Bo being so overwhelmed, he just passes out right after yelling, "We have a son." It was funny and sweet, showed a different side.
And their second wedding, much later on, felt so them. More real, more laid back.
Totally. Playing basketball before, grabbing burgers from the burger barn. Apparently there was even a ketchup stain involved. It just felt earned, like a couple who had been through it all.
Their appeal went beyond the show, too. Peter Reckell and Christian Alfonso actually did ads for Avon.
Right, for the Blue Rush perfume. They were spokesmodels as Bo and Hope. That shows how popular they were.
And that hilarious guest spot on 30 Rock, playing Bo and Hope on a TV in the background.
Yeah, that's when you know you've hit peak pop culture status as soap characters. It was a great nod to their fame.
So Bo's journey on the show mirrors Kidder Reckell's own comings and goings quite a bit. He started in '83 with Christian Alfonso, built that massive Boke fan base, then left in '87.
Yeah, that first departure. Peter later said he was just, burned out, the soap schedule was grueling, and he wanted to try other things. So Bo and Hope sailed off with baby Sean. Classic open-ended exit.
But he came back. 1990. Fans were thrilled.
They were. But that run was shorter. He left again in '92. This time, he mentioned not being happy with the storylines.
And that's when Robert Kelker Kelly stepped in.
Exactly. Robert played Bo from '92 to '95. Recasts are always tough, especially for a role that iconic, but he did it for a few years.
But Peter Reckell was Bo. And he returned in 1995. And this time, he stayed for a long while.
Yeah, that was a good long run, all the way until 2012.
His exit then, in 2012, there's lots of buzz about it beforehand.
Right. It was finally confirmed. He filmed his last scenes that summer, aired in the fall. Storyline-wise, Bo left Salem to take his mom, Caroline, for Alzheimer's treatment in California. And something about sailing again.
Yeah, pursuing a dream of sailing. Though, interestingly, Peter himself wasn't in those Bogue scenes they showed later with Hope and Ciara.
Which led to years of fans wondering, where is Bo? And the show eventually gave an answer.
A pretty dramatic one. He wasn't just sailing, he was deep undercover in Europe.
Yeah, investigated the Demeras, some big shadowy criminal group. It was supposedly so dangerous he couldn't contact anyone, explaining the long silence.
Made sense in a soap logic kind of way, and set the stage for his huge return in 2015.
For the 50th anniversary. That was massive. And the story was wild. He'd been held captive. Patch helped rescue him.
And he gets back just in time to save Hope from her evil new husband, Aiden Jennings. Kills Aiden in the struggle. Total hero moment.
It was amazing. Bo is back. But
Oh, it was brutal. Just devastating for fans. He gets diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor.
just months after returning, he died in Hope's arms in the park where they had so many memories. November 2015. Heartbreaking.
Absolutely crushing. Peter did pop back briefly in 2016, right? For an episode about Hope.
Yeah, like a vision or a memory kind of thing. But Bo, the character, was gone. Or so we thought.
Before we get to the really recent stuff, we should mention Carly Manning, played by Crystal Chappell.
Right. Carly came in around 1990 after Christian Alfonso had left the first time. And Carly became hugely popular herself.
And she was a significant love interest for Bo during that period, often called the biggest threat to Bo and Hope ever.
Definitely a viable threat.
Yeah.
They had real chemistry, their own fan base.
Yeah.
They even reconnected briefly in 2010 when Hope was in jail. Had a symbolic ceremony, but never legally married again.
And Carly had one of the most infamous storylines ever on Days.
Oh my God, yes. Being buried alive by Vivian Alamain, that is soap opera legend territory.
Seriously, people still talk about that. Apparently it gave the ratings a huge boost, too.
I believe it. It was terrifying. Just shows the kind of high drama world Bo inhabited, even when Hope wasn't the main focus.
And speaking of drama, Bo and Hope's family life wasn't exactly smooth sailing either, even when they were together. They had their second son, Zach, in 2000.
Such a happy time for them initially. But then 2006, just unimaginable tragedy.
Losing Zach in that hit and run. And the fact that it was caused by their own daughter, Chelsea, just gut-wrenching stuff.
That storyline was incredibly dark. Watching Bo and Hope deal with that grief, the blame, the strain, Christian Alfonso was phenomenal.
It really tested their marriage, didn't it? Hope pushed Bo away for a while.
Understandably, maybe. Grief does terrible things. It took them a long time to find their way back from that.
Then Ciara was born, later in 2006. A bit of light, but with its own soap twist.
Right, the paternity confusion.
Yeah.
Patrick Lockhart bribing the doctor. But thankfully, she turned out to be Bo's daughter after all.
Yeah.
And the fans named her.
That was a fun detail, the viewer vote for the name. Then Bo had that health scare in 2008.
Yeah, needed part of Chelsea's pancreas.
Yeah.
And got temporary psychic powers out of it. Because, soaps.
Of course. They renewed their vows later that year, though, reaffirming that bond.
Peter Reckell said something once that really sticks out when you look at their whole history.
What's that?
He said, Bo and Hope's best love stories are always ones where the circumstances keep them apart and they're struggling to get back together.
That's actually really true, isn't it? The kidnappings, the undercover stuff, even death. The fight to reunite was always central.
It really was. Maybe that's the secret sauce to their enduring appeal. The struggle made the reunions that much sweeter.
And struggle is definitely the word for what's happened in the last few years, leading up to Bo actually being, well, back.
It's been a wild ride, even by soap standards.
Well,
First, the bombshell in 2022. Bo wasn't dead.
resurrected by Megan Hathaway. In the Beyond Salem spinoff, very sci-fi, very unexpected.
Totally. But his return wasn't exactly smooth sailing either. That confrontation in Greece in 2023.
Oh, that was rough, getting shot by his own son, Sean. Accidentally, yes, but still.
Devastating, and it put him in that coma for 2 whole years.
Just lying there, unresponsive, until things got really bad in May 2025.
Yeah, he developed sepsis. Doctors basically said his only shot was this experimental drug. Really risky.
Which sent Sean and Steve on this desperate mission to get it right. Dealing with ethical issues, legal hurdles, anything to save Bo.
Exactly. The guilt Sean must have felt. And Steve, Bo's best buddy, they had to try.
And it all came to a head in those incredible episodes at the start of June 2025, especially June 2nd.
That episode was,
Yeah.
wow. The way they contrasted John Black's tragic death with Bo waking up. And tying it together, John secured the drug that saved Bo right before he died.
So poignant, and Hope sensing it first, seeing his eyelids flicker when the doctor saw nothing.
That connection they have. And then Bo's vision while he was still technically in the coma.
Finding himself in the Brady pub, seeing Zach all grown up.
Right, and Zach telling him, Dad, it's not your time, you need to go back to them. Promising he'd be waiting. With Caroline and Sean Sr. So emotional.
And then Hope, Ciara, Sean appearing in the vision, begging him to come back. Bo saying he'd been trying for years, feeling trapped.
While in the real world, Hope is just pleading at his bedside, fight for us, fight for your family.
And her words reach him. He opens his eyes, sees her, and whispers.
Fancy face.
Chills. Just absolute chills. The perfect first words back.
The perfect confirmation that Bo was back.
Then the June 4th episode, showing him starting to adjust. Amazed Hope stayed with him for 2 years.
Her saying she was his ride or die, just reaffirming everything.
Wow.
And him remembering how he acted before the coma, pushing people away.
Hope reassuring him that wasn't the real him. It was gentle, understanding.
And the reunions, seeing Ciara all grown up, meeting his grandkids, little Bo and Addie, for the first time.
This has been overwhelming in the best way. But the reunion with Sean, that was heavy.
Oh, yeah. Sean just crushed by guilt over the shooting, blaming himself.
But Bo immediately shut that down. Told Sean he remembered it, that Sean did exactly what he was trained to do, protect Hope, said he was proud of him, would have done the same thing.
Incredible grace and forgiveness from Bo. Just healing that wound right away. So powerful.
And then starting to catch up on everything he missed. Chelsea's baby. Claire in South Africa. Ciara and Theo being friends now. Sean and Belle's breakup.
A lot to process. But then came the harder news. The losses.
Learning Victor Kiriakis was gone.
Yeah, his reaction. Shock. Saying he thought Victor would live forever, regret over not saying goodbye, acknowledging that really complicated, difficult bond they shared.
And hearing about Doug Williams, too, calling him the heart and soul of the family, how special Doug was to Hope.
2 huge figures in Salem, gone while he was away. And then the toughest news for Hope especially.
John Black. Having to tell Bo that John had died, knowing John helped save him, Hope was devastated.
And that quiet scene with Marlena and Eric. Marlena grappling with the fact that Bo's miracle felt tied to John's death, but acknowledging John's heroism is just so much emotion packed into those episodes.
You know, listening to all that, you have to think about Peter Reckell, the actor, living through these storylines, especially given his own history with the cast.
Oh, absolutely. It must be incredibly intense. And he's been quite open about it recently.
He talked about coming back to the set, right? Feeling like family.
Yeah, he described it like coming home, like a class reunion with cast and crew he's known for years. And being really moved by the fan reaction, the appreciation.
And grateful for the deep emotional stuff they gave him to play.
Definitely. He said, let him have these character reunions, but also acknowledge the people who, aren't there anymore.
Oh.
Both in the story and, sadly, in real life.
He found it hard talking about Drake Hodgeston, didn't he? John Black.
Very difficult. He called Drake his brother and one of my best friends. That personal connection makes playing those grief scenes incredibly tough.
He said it felt like his own feelings were right there on the surface.
Exactly, that the lines blurred between Bo's grief and his own. Sometimes he just wanted to step away and process it privately, but he had to perform it.
And he mentioned regretting not seeing Drake before he passed. A really human moment.
Yeah, emphasizing telling people you love them. Saying, we're at that age where people start to go. It felt very raw and real.
He also shared memories of Wayne Northrup, the original Roman.
Called him a big brother figure back in the early days.
Yeah.
Someone who guided him, but gave him space.
And his affection for John Aniston, Victor, and Bill Hayes, Doug?
Yeah. Described them as these substantial, powerful men he loved spending time with. Listening to John Aniston's jokes, Bill Hayes' stories about flying or his family. Said those on-screen connections made the on-screen stuff deeper.
So losing them and Drake, especially after his own father passed recently, it hit him hard.
You can understand why. It's a lot of loss, both fictional and real, converging.
And yet he still sounds amazed by his 40-plus-year connection with Christian Alfonso, his fancy face.
Right. Marveling at how they built something lasting through hard work, challenging each other, creating that magic that touched so many people.
He feels lucky, he said.
Yeah, like one of the luckiest people in the world to have been part of Days for so long. Very fulfilling for him.
And, importantly for fans, he seems open to sticking around.
He does. He said if there's room for him, he'd love a more permanent return.
Yeah.
So the door seems open from his side, which is exciting.
So when you pull it all together, the history, the romance, the recent trauma and return, Peter Reckell's own journey with the character, why does Bo Brady still resonate so strongly?
Well, first off, the proof is in the pudding, right? He's always on those lists of best Days characters, most memorable soap characters ever. His impact is just undeniable.
And that Bo and Hope legacy, it's foundational. They really did define the super couple concept for Days and arguably influenced the whole genre.
Absolutely. But beyond the icon status, I think it's the core themes. Bo's journey touches on so much: rebellion, finding your place, loyalty, family above all.
Resilience, too. My gosh, coming back from everything he's been through, death, captivity, coma.
Exactly. That fight to get back, especially back to hope, back to his family. It taps into something universal about love and commitment against impossible odds.
He was that archetype, wasn't he? The tough guy with the heart of gold. Flawed, yeah, but ultimately heroic. Always fighting for what's right, for his fancy face.
And Peter Reckell just embodied that perfectly. He made Bo feel real, grounded, even in the most outlandish plots. That's why he holds such a special place for viewers.
You know, thinking about Peter Reckell's reflections on loss and how playing Bo's grief connects to his own, it brings up something really interesting about soaps.
Okay.
Just the unique way these long-running shows allow characters and the actors playing them to revisit intense emotions over and over. Fictional loss mirroring real loss.
That's a powerful point. Bo mourning Victor or Doug on screen, while Peter Reckell is mourning John Aniston and Bill Hayes off screen. Or feeling the weight of Drake Hodgeston's absence while playing scenes about John Black's death.
It creates this almost blurring line, doesn't it, between the story being told, the actor's performance, and our own experiences as viewers who've invested in these characters and actors for years. We feel the echoes, too.
We do. What does that deep connection, that sometimes painful resonance between fiction and reality, tell us about the power of storytelling? How these narratives help us navigate our own love, our own losses?
It's definitely something profound to think about. The unique emotional landscape of soap operas.
Well, that covers a lot of ground on Bo Brady and Peter Reckell. What a journey.
It really is. An incredible character brought to life by a truly dedicated actor, a legacy that's still unfolding. That wraps up this deep dive.
It's been fascinating to revisit it all.
Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration of Bo Brady. If you enjoyed digging into this iconic character and the actor behind him, please do give this episode a like.
And make sure you subscribe to the Classic Soap Operas podcast. We've got plenty more deep dives planned into the shows and characters you love.
We'd also genuinely love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell us your all-time favorite Bo Brady moment or your favorite Bo and Hope scene. We really enjoy hearing from fellow fans.
Yeah.